Hi, I'm Andrew Armstrong and welcome to the back office teardown lab. I'd like to introduce you to one of the hardest working members in our household, and this is a, oh my gosh, I can't even remember what they're called, Roborock S5, something like that. They come under various names and I have to admit I lose track. We might discover more about what it's called when we turn it around. And you can see it's a bit grubby. Yeah, it just says Roborock, but I think it's a Xiaomi potentially. And if you're not aware of what these are, they're a robotic vacuum cleaner with a spinning laser radar type assembly here. The problem you get with them is that they start to run out of power, and it says things like error, replace the filter.
Remove the dustbin and clean the filter.
There you go. And your dustbin starts looking a little bit filthy like this, and it has a filter on the back that's removable, but you can see this is clean because you change them all the time, because these parts are quite cheap, so you change them all the time. And believe it or not, this would have been serviced not too long ago by myself, as in changing the brushes and the belts and things, but you can see already it gets pretty grubby pretty quickly. So we've had this for a few years. It's starting to look a bit mank. So I've decided today to pull it apart a little bit more, because those error messages about the suction aren't going away. So it seems to be as if it's got an issue with the filters, even when it technically hasn't, because you've cleaned them. So I'm going to start by unscrewing and removing all of the parts that are easy to remove. So I've taken out the main beta bar, and I'm taking off this little brushed doodad here. And just in case, I'm just checking. I believe they come with screws fitted to them. You see that there? That's a captive screw, so that's handy. But if not, just take the screw out and pop it back in the hole so you don't lose it. The beta bar, you can just swap that straight out, or just really every now and then just drag a scissors through there and just cut off all the pet hair or human hair that accumulates. And I'm aware what we're going to be looking at is pretty gross, because it's just the inside of the machine has got to be full of filth by the time we get to it. I'm struggling to find how the battery's connected. Oh, I can't believe this, by the way. I've just discovered something. There's a tool in here. That tool is for that, isn't it? Oh my life, that's such a time saver. Okay, I'm just going to start getting into it. Can see there's screws on the bottom. Let's just flip it over and just undo all the main screws. So I can count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and there's a 6 here, and a cap. Maybe that cap is a warranty void if remove cap. Remains to be seen. Oh, I don't want to touch any of this. I know the sort of stuff these things go through. So if you've ever had pets, by the way, yeah, it's done that, where it's literally your pet might have had an accident in the house, and then the hoover basically grinds through it all, and it goes up through the wheels and up through all over the place, and then you come back to your house with this just colossal mess. That has happened to us. I'm not too proud to admit it. So when that does happen, it's a lot of action with a Q-tip digging around all the parts, and it stinks. Yeah, fortunately this doesn't stink now, because it's not happened for a while, but be aware. I'm hoping we don't discover anything too nasty when we open this up. But the plastic does seem to have quite a lot of pet hair and detritus kind of stuck to it, so that's not great. In fact, this is a security screw as well, by the way. Which makes me think if dust is capable of building up on the outside, it certainly can get in there. Oh, and look! Immediately we've removed the panel, and there is quite a lot of stuff in here. It's just cat hair, so that's I've got to hit that with another vacuum or Dyson or something. But look there, you can see there is matter being accumulated in places where you don't want it, and there is the battery pack. So that's, at least we know now how you get the battery out. So I'm going to whip that out. There was a little tab on that connector, so push that in before you yoink it. That's a very neat little battery, actually. Very warm. This was in use. So I think before proceeding further, a good task would be just to get your vacuum cleaner in here and just hoover up all this hair before delving deeper into this. Okay guys, you're not going to believe this. This is the motor, and there's 3 screws here. 1, 2, and just 1 inside there. I've just undone them. You can see the screws off to the side. Check this out. Boom. It's modular. I cannot believe that. That is so handy for cleaning. And look into the wheel arch. It's actually not as filthy as I thought, but if you've had it gone through some cat doings or dog doings, that is where it's going to fill up. So I am absolutely chuffed that there's nothing in there right now. But what I'm going to do is whip out the other one, because that is, I think, part of the issue. When you have the vacuum cleaner complaining that it's got a problem with dust or sucking power, I'm not really sure how it's measuring that, but I kind of think it must be drag. It could be feeling drag on these components, so it could be the beta bar, it could be the motors. So those things are the things to check, because really hair and fine lint and things like that are going to be able to get into them. If I was the designer of this motor, this vacuum cleaner, I would certainly have it that it's going to complain when it detects too much current on its assemblies. That's a very cool thing indeed, isn't it? It's a little bit like those wheelchair motors, but smaller. Oh, there's a micro switch, look! That's how it detects. It must be one of the ways it detects when it's been lifted up. While we're at it, let's see if this little whiskey bar that whisks the dust into the beta also comes off in the same way. A little bit more awkward. Probably go one size down on the screwdrivers if you have one. So it looks like it's the same screw actually. It's just my particular screwdriver's a bit thick to get in there. It's doing it though. It's doing it. I know you've seen a lot of my hand in this frame. Okay, oh, another great assembly. Look at that, and it's really warm. This is super warm. We'll see how we can have a look at that. I suspect though, if we even open that, we risk breaking it, but I think if we get into there, we'll probably find that there's nothing in it. It's quite well designed. This flange here is going to prevent a lot of hair and stuff working its way up and down and around, and then it would have to get in there. So those are good parts. I'm really glad they're serviceable like that too. So there's really not much. That part there, where my thumb is, that's really thin because that's just the other side of the dustbin area here. So there's not much there going on. This part at the back is just an empty cavity. I can see just through there, this is actually an empty cavity. So there's no electronics or stuff in there. In fact, I'm not sure why that exists. It's obviously the outlet. Oh, it must direct to these ports on the back through some sort of filter that doesn't look like you can get to it in an easy way. And let's start looking at this laser assembly because it's the only other moving part on here. And looking at it, it seems to be something that you access from the top if you can figure out how to take this door assembly off. Yeah, this has got screws. In fact, I suspect this plate comes off, and it probably comes off from underneath. So we do have some screws. We've got some screws here, here, here and here. Looks like maybe 4 or 5 screws, so let's get those out. Now we're going where no one needs to venture. I'm really going deep on this one because I think for my particular issue I could just clean it up at this point and I'll be good. But I'm curious, so as long as we're careful and don't break anything, it should be all right. I've also noticed this charging pad is very dirty. It looks like it's got some mud on it, and that couldn't help you out. It does say when in the software actually that when you should be cleaning all of these sensors and things like that, so it is worth doing that from time to time. I would like to get this out though and give it a soak because it is particularly disgusting. So I've undone the screws here, here, here and here. That's 4 screws. And that whole beta bar assembly comes out as one piece, and there's its motor. Again, you could potentially lubricate that up. Little PCB edge connector, be careful. I might see if there's a little bit further I can go and dismantle that, but it does look like it's got a nice gasket between there and there. So it's kind of like a suspension, but it's also gasketed because it doesn't want to... Oh no, there's actually a hole. Ah, I found a little hole here. That might be something I might want to plug up. That'll be definitely losing efficiency through that. Not good, actually. got all the screws out on the other side, but I'm still trying to figure out really how to go beyond that. And it looks like these are just held in with pop tabs. So I'm just going to wedge something in here. Oh, hello. There we go. That's it. Oh, look, secret USB port here on the top. Look at that right there, hiding away. I wonder what we use that for. It's probably some sort of firmware update. So those are the hinge blocks. I tell you what, there's an awful lot of screws in this, and oh, they're all the same so far apart from these. So that's kind of handy though, that you don't have too many different sizes to deal with or types to deal with. Whoa. I'd say we're pretty much there on this disassembly, so that's really got to be looking at the final part, which is the laser head. And the reason I want to actually remove this is there is a belt on this. You can tell when the way it runs that there's got to be a belt drive, and that's going to be something that's going to fail at some point in the future, so it would be handy to know how to get to it when we have to. So you've got some rubber stoppers on these screws. That's absolutely fine. Make sure we get those off. And there is a warranty void if removed one over there too. Be careful with that if you are still under warranty. So that's another one of those smaller screws. So that's fine. They just go in a different pile. But these three here are a different type. There's a suspension on here, you can see. So they do have, I don't know what you call those, the ones which have a little washer integrated on them. I suspect these are the only occurrence of them in the whole machine. So you're not really going to misplace them. But if you put the wrong ones in, you run the risk of losing this ability for this to move a little bit, so it clearly needs to. And there we go, look at that. So that's the spinning laser module. So you have here a laser on this side that goes through and a receiver, and they're spinning around like that, so it's bouncing out and coming back in, and it's scanning around like that. And there's the belt. So if ever you need a belt, that's how you fit it. And I suspect it's really easy. In fact, I'm going to try to remove the belt without removing anything else now. And yeah, there you go. And you could remove this without doing anything else. I feel that you could just pop that top panel off like I did, remove those hinge blocks, and you could get in that way. I don't think you'll have a problem. Now let's try to refit the belt. So I'm just going to get a small tweezers, because what I'm going to do is hold it in here. There's a channel in here. You can't quite see it, but if I tip it you'll see there's a channel in here. So we want to hold the belt in such a way that it's going to go in that channel, and then as we twist it, it just jams into it, which it's doing. You can see that now. So now the belt is around that channel and we just hook it over here. Brilliant. That's really nice. You'll be able to dust that, and you can see here actually that that's almost a clutch the way that belt. In fact, I got it off the roller by just putting a little bit of torque on here. Look, see? So I suspect that would be a weak point, and I can see underneath this roller that there's a whole load of fluff. So definitely, if you're in yours, get in there and clean it up, because you don't want any of that performance impaired on any of these moving parts. But the bearing sounds okay. It's not making too many horrible sounds. In fact, if I take that off there, that's spinning nicely. Back on the motor. And as we're going for it, should we have a look to see if this comes out in the same way? Everything else so far has been really modular and just clipped into the main PCB in a really convenient way, so I don't suspect this will be any different. I've noticed something. There's a button here. Look. I wonder... That's interesting. I wonder if there's a detection, like if you push, there is. So if you push down on this, let's see before I take it out. Oh, it hears that. Hear that? That's a detector on that. I wonder if it's a detector if your cat's sitting on it, or if there's an emergency stop. And look, it does. It comes out like everything else. These are actually quite expensive to buy. If you buy them as part of a hobbyist robot modular type thing, I think they're running you, I don't know, definitely over £100, and I don't think it's as quality as this one. So this is an expensive piece, so definitely worth getting in there. And you can see all that fluff and dust. If you've got actually an air gun with a blow, just blow all that out. I think that'll be good as gold once you've done that. And I'm just going to check in there, look in the lenses, make sure they're all nice and dust free. You should be good to go. I feel I'm at the point of no return now, so we might as well take off this front bumper bar. It's probably locking in the lid. So if we get the front bumper bar off, we'll be able to get the lid out, and then we'll be able to clean everything. If we can get the PCB out from the plastics, you could take the plastics outside and hose them down. Give them a really cool clean. This will be like brand new when you're done with it. I guess this is a couple of years old now, so it deserves it. It's so hard working. It's whizzing around a couple of times a day, having to put up with a lot of kid type stuff, which is all the Lego and the food, popcorn, you know what it's like. Yep, there is some dust in there. That was the car garage calling me. Always something, always an issue. Right, so that looks like some sensors. There's some switches there. There's a spring on your front bumper, so that's what just... Lid is off, and have a look at this. There is a blower in it. So when it's complaining about suction, it could be an issue with that, so we can check that out. And also this flopped out as well, which is another filter, yet another filter. So if that's blocked and that's got an issue, then really between the two, you could have a bunch of problems there. And we'll have a look at that, how it works. But before that, let's explore. We have a switch here. That's that switch when you push that center point down on the radar. So it's doing something with that. That's the header for the motor, the beta bar motor. That's the radar header to plug that in. And you can see it's a really nice conformal coated PCB. I suspect that's the Wi-Fi module here in the corner. And there's really not much to it other than that. It's double-sided PCB, so there's components on both sides. It's a really nice design. You can see why they're so expensive. There's a heck of a lot of assembly has to go into one of these. I would say at this point, this is probably as far as you need to go. I would get in there with a duster. In fact, I am going to get in there with a duster and clean it. And all of the other plastic parts that you put off to the side can have a bit of a wash. Maybe apart from this one, which has anything that's got motor, of course, don't just jump in there and start washing it. But this is the one that I'm most concerned about, because I do have a hole here. So I'll have to see if there's spares available for that. But in the meantime, I'll probably just try to clean this as best as I can and patch that. I'm not sure what with. Look, we've hit pay dirt here, and I'm being very ginger because I want to show you. I was doing it off camera just to loosen it up, but I couldn't help resist. I couldn't help myself. There's a bracket that holds this blow, and look, when you turn it over, look at that. It has certainly had a lot of dust come in there, and that's definitely going to just cause the issue right away. And I suspect it's because of this hole. I think it's sucking via this hole here, and dust is going through there and just circumventing the filter in the dust catcher. The little dust bin, so it's not going via this filter when it's getting round that, and that's where that's gone straight into there. So I suspect this thing will just all of a sudden be a lot happier now that that's clean. I'm just going to turn the impeller around. Yeah, there's no dust or anything in there, it's just all got caught in this mesh. So it's a good job they put it on there, and you can see that dust is there. And if you recall me mentioning a cavity at the back, that's the cavity right there. So the air comes through this horn up through the middle and is then turboed out the back. Quite a nice design, but again, totally full of dust. You can see I've cleaned this out. The hole has been repaired. I've worked out a way of doing it. I used some super glue activator and super glue in there, and that's plugged the hole. It's made it a bit harder though. It's obviously reacted with the rubber and made it harder. But be amazingly careful. I used a Q-tip and the Q-tip started smoking. Well, it's this Q-tip because it's stuck now to other stuff, but it actually started smoking, and so did this rubber. So it's highly reactive to super glue, and you do not want a fire. Maybe do it outside or find a different adhesive. I suppose it's at this point you're going to decide how much or how little cleaning you think you need to do to it. I'm going to go for the in-between approach, and that's pull out all the dust and fluff that I can, and cat hair. Give it the quick wipe over, and Once I assemble it, I'll give the whole outside and anything accessible a better clean. But honestly, if you look here, if this is all the filth you've got over a couple of years of usage, I think just a quick dust is probably all you need. Because as soon as you plug it in, it's all going to come back again anyway. But sometimes there's areas that you can't easily get into, like these corners and things like that, so they'll appreciate it. At the end of the day, it's very much a working tool, isn't it? Reassembly is the reverse of disassembly, but the bit you want to be careful about is all these screws and making sure they're all in the right places. So I've held up various panels just to make sure I'm not putting a screw in a panel. I need to have another external panel require that screw hole. You might remember that from the old days of working on laptops, where you had some PCBs where the screw would go right through all of them, or somewhere it would only go through a couple of the layers. So you can see I'm pretty much just starting with the bottom, because I don't want to put any excess pressure on that laser assembly. But we now know that that's fine, that's absolutely fine. Just going to blow some air through those using my lungs. So that's your right, that's your left. That should be fine like that. Should be fine like that. Not too bad at all, really, is it? It's really quite nicely made. They deserve every penny they get for these, honestly. Don't put the battery in though, not till everything else is done. I've put in all the screws on the bottom bar one. Now that bar one is because I don't know where it goes. Honestly, I'm hoping it's one of these. I've noticed something interesting as well. Look at this, how it floats. It doesn't have the weight in it. It's got quite a lot of suspension range on it. So do take your time though when you're putting your screws in, because I can see from here, for example, if we miss one off at a critical point, we'll have to come back, take something out, put the screw in and then put it back on. It's not looking good. I couldn't find a place to put that screw, and we are starting to run out of opportunities to put it somewhere. Now when you've done this, make sure of course when you've put the screws in that you use those weird flat washery screws in the right place, otherwise that won't have the articulation it needs. Ah, found it! Hiding away. That was a bugger. That was literally the last screw. Last thing I had to dismantle to even get to it. But that's fine. We're there. We're actually pretty much finished. Just got to put that final back plate on. We're getting to the final stages here. Just going to pop the battery in now. A little bit worried. We don't know what it's going to do. How does all that dust still continue to get back in here? Definitely not a clean room environment, that's for sure. So I'm just posting this in. It will only go in one way, like so. And that's it. There's nothing else keeping it in there apart from the lid. So let's put the lid back on. I did a bit of cleaning on the lid, not a massive amount, as you can see. But what's nice is the little cleaning I did do was very easy. It's a very nice material to work with. It just wipes off with, I used antibacterial spray on everything, because after this I'm going to want to go inside and basically boil my arms and hands because it is absolutely filthy. So that's all those big screws. They save these big old screws for the bottom, so you can't really go wrong with those. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 of them. Let's whack them in. Maybe I'll stop hearing that error message 200 times a day. That's the final thing. Let's turn it over, give it a whirl. It's been so long since I've turned these on, I can't even remember how. They basically stay on forever. It's just on for years. Years of being on. Oh! There we go. Clean my desk.
Starting spot spot cleaning.
Oh, I'm going to try to hold it so it won't run away. There's the fans going. Yes. Oh. It certainly sounds like it's running, but maybe it knows it's not moving around. I'm trying to hold it.
Error 1. Turn the laser unit and check that it is not jammed or blocked.
Oh no, but I can see it spinning around. It's definitely not happy with this laser. It isn't actually going around. It was just giving the illusion of spinning when I was looking at it. I'm trying to see though, what's the minimum you have to take out to change that belt. And I suspect you might have to take that lid off, but if we're lucky, you don't. So that's that screw. And you've just got a couple here. I'm not entirely convinced I'll be able to slide that cover off, but you never know. And if you can, it's a pretty quick way of changing the belt. Get that screw out of there. Nope. All the hinges have to come off. But I can see the belt's on it. The belt's on it.
Starting spot cleaning. Error 1. Turn the laser unit and check that it is not jammed or blocked.
Seems alright to me.
Starting spot cleaning.
Been doing some investigating here, and I've got a very odd thing going on. When I've unplugged the motor from the main PCB so I can drive it directly, but when I put my power supply on it, I've got nothing. There's no current being consumed. It's as if the motor's died now. I'll have to look into that separately. Feels like it's just going to be one of those bloody weeks. Got your two little screws out. Let's pop this motor out. See if there's anything we can do. Do something. So weird. Turns out they're easy to get hold of, some with the actual pulley on the top, so I guess I can just dig into this one a little bit. They're even quite cheap too. And on Amazon. Yeah, I was going to say I can't see anything too fishy. However, let's be fair. Some of these brushes, and I'm not sure if you can quite see them, have broken. So their fingers have gone. So I guess it just wore out. That's fine. Let's get on the eBay and order some up. Check it out. I removed the broken piece and this is how we do it. Of course I'm going to replace this, but it does mean in the meantime I can still vacuum until this dies fully. Excellent job.
to a new location and restart.
I think we're in business. There you have it. It's totally working now. Thank gosh. I can put it back in service and forget about it, hopefully for another few years. But how many of you at home would attempt such a repair? As you can see, it's all pretty simple, pretty modular, and even if you need spare parts like that laser motor, they're obtainable. Please comment down below. I'd love to hear about your experiences of similar gadgets. Bye-bye.